Alright everyone, now that you know the absolute basics of PHP and all programming concepts, we're really going to dive into PHP programming, which is awesome because this is exciting, because it's awesome. So I know that made no sense, but now that we are ready to begin programming, we should take advantage of that opportunity and begin programming. So the very first thing that we are going to do is create an HTML form. But one thing I want you to realize is that a lot of this is going to be HTML, and I don't want to explain every little tiny thing in a lot of detail, but I'm going to explain it generally. You should be able to understand it, but if at any time you're struggling, you can check out my HTML video series. There's like 25 videos that are real quick over HTML. Another thing is, as we begin to program in PHP, we can't just jump to the absolute very in-depth PHP, because a lot of it I'm trying to introduce. That's why this is a series. So as you go on, I absolutely do not recommend quitting halfway through, because you're going to get a manipulated view of what PHP really is like. Because once we're done, we'll have to learn to validate forms and all this. So as we go and we're learning the basics, some of it is not going to be secure, and some of it is going to be a very beginner version of the professional code. So just keep that in mind as we're going, that you may not be a professional programmer just because you know how to create an HTML form and send it to a PHP script. Alright, so now that you have all that behind you, let's begin by creating this HTML form. So the very first thing I want to do is create our doc type, which basically just tells the browser that we're working with HTML. And I want to save this file. We can just save it as index.html. Alright, then what we can do is we can just open our HTML, close our HTML. So this is how you open and close HTML tags. And then within here we can put other HTML tags, which includes our head. And my button's not working. There we go. Body. And then we close the body. So the head is where we will put information about our web page, such as the title. If you want, you can also put the language and the encoding, but I'm not really going to go through all that right now. So we just need to set the title, and this is going to be our home page. Actually, let's make it form, because that's what we're creating. So this is going to be our form. And then once we're done with that, we can just close the head, because we don't really need it anymore. Alright, now we are working with the body. So within the body, we are going to create a form. So to do that, we say form. And then, once we submit this form, it is going to go to a PHP script. So what we do is we name that PHP script that it's going to be sent to. This is a file that has not been created yet, but we will be getting into that in future videos. So basically this line right here is saying, okay, once this page is created and you click submit, we want it to be sent to this page to be validated or checked and put into a database or whatever else. And then we have a method. So the method is how the data gets sent. And what you want to put here for now is post. If you don't really know what that means, don't worry about it. Just think we are going to be posting this information to a PHP script. Another method is get, which we're not going to be using in this example. So just follow along with that right now. And then what we're going to do is make a field set and a legend. And then we're going to end our legend. And then we're going to end our field set. So to open it, we don't have a little /, and to close it, we have a /. This is just going to make a very nice input box, and it will look good when we're done. So within the legend, this is what the input's going to be called. So we can say, enter your information. Subscribe. Yeah, I gotta advertise, that's what I do. Alright, now everything is going to go within this field set. So we have a legend, and then we're also going to have paragraphs. So each part of our form is going to go within a separate paragraph. And we can create a label, and we can make that label have the value name. So then that's just saying what comes up next has the label name. And then we create an input type. Give it a name. A size. A max length. And then we close the input. So let me just explain everything we just did. First, we created a paragraph, which we will be closing in just a second. Then we created a label. What this label is going to do is basically just give us a label for the input type, or the input text box. So if you want to see how this looks, you can go up to the top and click Run, which is cut out of the screen right now, but you can just run it in a program. So you can also press Control-Alt-Shift-R for Google Chrome is what I'm going to use. And this will come up looking like this. So if you're working with PHP, I told you already, don't run it through the file, but since we're only working with HTML right now, that's perfectly fine. So this is what it looks like right now. The name is the label. So you see the label right here. That's what it's going to look like. The other information, the type is text, which gives us this kind of box. The name is name. That's what's given to PHP. The size, 30 characters long. Max length is 50. What that means is once we reach the end, we can keep typing. It's just going to extend our box. So yeah, that's what everything looks like now. And because label doesn't have a closing tag, we just close it right here. Hopefully all is making sense and so forth. Alright, so what we need to do now is we need to close our label. Obviously I should put the / if we're going to close it, and we should close the paragraph. So all of this information within this label is connected to the label name. Alright, now that that is done, we have our first box, which is name. The next thing that we want to do is we want to have basically what our form is going to look like is it's going to allow people to enter their name and type in a little comment. And the comment's going to have two types, either a question or a suggestion. So now we need to make what's known as radio buttons to do this. So let's do that right now. So we have a paragraph tag, and we can just close it now. And then we are going to have a label, and then we're going to close the label. So once you get into HTML programming, I like to close things beforehand so I don't forget. And then within this label, we have to put label for equals type. And I'll be explaining this in just a second. And then outside of the label, we have to say type of message. We can put anything we want here. This is just what's going to show up. And then we end that label. So this is separate than, like in this one, if you look up here, you can see that the input is within the label. Whoops. But for this one, it's going to be outside of the label. That's because the radio buttons, there's multiple of them, and we can't just have them both within one label. So we need to put it outside of the label. We say it's for type, so it knows what radio buttons to connect to. Alright, so if that didn't make any sense, don't worry about it. Just follow me. Input type equals radio. Name equals type. Alright, then we give it a value, and basically the value is what gets sent to the PHP script if we reference this. So we can make the first one S for suggestion, and we're going to put that in a capital letter, and then we end that radio button. And then we name it, or put the text on the actual HTML page, and put suggestion. So now if we look at what we have, we can run it in Chrome, and I'll just show you what we have here. So we have enter your information, subscribe, name, and then type of message. So obviously there's only one type of message here. Alright, so now we can make the other radio button. So to do this, we create another input, input type. And if you guys want to know something cool, if you just go to the line and press Control D, it's going to duplicate the whole line, and then we can change what needs changed. So Q, and this one's going to be a question. Whoops, question. So now let's see what it looks like. Run in Chrome. Drag this over here. And this is what we have right now. Awesome. So we're getting pretty close to being finished. All we really need to do is add a comment section and a submit button. So to make a comments, we just make a paragraph, and then we add a label, and this label is going to be comments. And then we have a text area, which is just a bigger area for you to type, and we're going to name this comments. Then we can assign how many rows it gets and how many columns it gets. And I think I'm cutting some off, so I'm going to zoom out a little. Oh, I guess I can't really. Columns equals 50, and then we can end our text area. And then we can end our label. Forgot to end those beforehand. So now we have all of that. We can end our field set. The field set is going to be the little black line around everything. So I'll show you what I mean. If we just launch this in Chrome, I'll show you over here. We have the actual black line around here. That's the field set. So if I move the field set up here, it would cut out the comments. Alright, so now that we have that, what we need to do is just have a submit button. So to do that, we can have a paragraph tag, label, and then we can make it, oh sorry. You would not put the label. Sorry, I forgot that we are done with the labels. So what we do is have an input type equals submit, name equals submit, and then value. This is what's actually going to show up on the page. Submit and subscribe. And then we can end that input type, and then we can end that paragraph. So this is what we have when we look at it when it's done. We have the name, type of message, comments, and a submit and subscribe. And obviously it doesn't work, but it's cool looking. So now let's just do a quick review. Just for your information, a lot of this stuff is optional. I just wanted to show you to clear things up. So for example, the rows and columns, those aren't necessarily necessary. So if I go to this page, refresh after I save, you can see it still works, it just doesn't look as cool. Oh, and yeah, so if you take out, let me just put all that back in there. So that's what some of the optional things are, and also the field set is optional and so forth, but I just like the way it looks. So yeah, this is the basics. Here's how it works. We have a form, and then within this we have a field set, and we have a legend which has what the box is going to say, and then each thing is separated into paragraphs. So a paragraph, 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 and then a paragraph. The first one has a label name, and then within this label we just put the information about what we're submitting, and then we have the actual radio buttons, which we put the label outside, and then we have these down here. Then we have a paragraph for the comments right here. We end the field set, and we have a paragraph with the input type of submit. So yeah, that's just the basics. If it's too much for you to understand right now, don't freak out. A lot of what you'll be doing, you can just copy what I have here and modify it as you go. So obviously you can know that if you want to change the value of your submit, boom, you just change it there, and then when you look at your page, it's going to change the submit button. So yeah, if you can just copy this and use that as you go, and if this was way too easy for you, sorry for boring you. But yeah, that's all I have to say, so hopefully that was helpful, and in the next video we'll be getting into something pretty cool, so be sure to subscribe. Thank you and goodbye.